Content disclaimer. The views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teachers, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed.
Been seeing exhibited by those who claim to be forwarding their great works, those entrusted with their legacy, the utter disrespect to the memory of those who brought value and substance to the lives of thousands by sacrificing their own. I've seen these few take this platform to spit vitriol instead of virtue, curses instead of cures, hate instead of healing, division versus collectivism. And I won't be naming names here. That's not necessary, for by their actions will they be known. And brought nothing but shame and disappointment to their legacies. People looking at the kind of circus-like atmosphere that was being enacted upon and prosecuted, it hurt my heart. And, well, let me go forward. Our so-called conscious community was stricken by an infection, one that crippled logic, discernment, and reason, destroying our empathy for one another. For example, let me be clear. Having sat with true warriors in the fight to bring us closer to the African continent, I have never once heard my brother, for instance, Kwame Ture, who I sat in audience right before he made his transition, ever call himself a prince of Pan-Africanism. Because the true warriors never held a coronation to adorn themselves with self-proclaimed royalty. I've never heard a founding father of that became, or what became known as the conscious community, refer to themselves as a Hollywood ape that hung from the Empire State Building when referring to their contributions and participation in the conscious community. I've never seen my elders yell, cuss, scream, and hurl invectives at one another and call that debating. If there was a debate, it was with the recognized enemy, not your family. And worse yet, I've never ever heard any of my contemporaries in the conscious community fix their faces to say, fuck the elders. And through all this madness, this ego-driven chaos, I kept hearing, where are the elders? Why are they not stepping up to say something about this desecration of the platform and principle? We warned on camera. I'm to tell you, we warned on camera to tell you that we already warned those who participated in this tragic fiasco of the consequences that would be incurred if they continued their course of action. We warned on camera that they would spread the psychospiritual disease to our community. They'd spread the contagion of contention, the contagion of separation, the contagion of divisiveness, and the contagion of divisiveness. But the public never got to see that tape, that DVD. The warning never went public. So you really didn't know that the elders were already there. How many of you all were at the National Black Theater at the time when I warned? And I think I was speaking for all the elders as well. We didn't need to be arguing with one another to make a point. And finally, when you fix your face to say F the elders, such words reverberate backwards and forwards through time and space, through the Akasha, through the Nu, through the Ethereum, and will be heard by Natir Ma'at, who will cause those who think and speak such filth to be revisited by the demonic spirit they invoked by even speaking those words. The following names belong to those I both have met personally or have read about their legacies, to whom I have studied with a passion that sustains my ethics and unyielding resolve. Were they perfect? No. Am I perfect? Hell no. I never claimed to be. See, when you say F the elders, here are a very brief idea of the men and women who are the elders you just spit upon. First, here are the elders who emancipated us from the chains of our left brain. Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Chancellor Williams, Dr. Ben, Dr. Van Sertima, Dr. Amos Wilson, Sheikh Amdi Diop, Dr. Leonard and Rosalind Jeffries, Dr. Richard King, Dr. James Smalls, Dr. Aishaka Musa Barashango, Dr. Aisha Hilliard, Dr. Francis Kress, Dr. Neely Fuller, Baba Dick Gregory, Sister Shahrazad Ali, Brother Steve Coakley, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and Dr. Ann Brown. And those are just a few because I am just naming those.
We'll take care of your mic.
Okay.
Ann is here too. Ann Brown is here.
Mm-hmm.
We just take care of it and get it on for you.
Oh, okay. No, this one is working. This one is not. Wait a minute. Excuse me. Feel like I'm dressing in front of everybody, right? I'm sure this is the one. Yep. And now those elders who emancipated us from the chains of our right brains. See, there's a left brain emancipation of elders and a right brain emancipation. And I lead off, of course, with Baba Heru Ankara Samaj. Baba Kafa Ondongo Happy Ray, Baba Ishangi, Ra Unefa Amen, Dr. Raketi Amen, Queen of Fua, John Harris, C. Freeman L., Brother Eric Muhammad, Dr. Delbert Blair, Brother Bobby Hammett, Dr. York, the entire family of High Priest Kwatamani, Dr. George Love, Sister Prema, Dr. Muata Ashby, Brother Lloyd Strayhorn, Imhotep Gary Bird, Brother Lloyd Strayhorn Imfundishi, actually, and Brother Imfundishi Jehudi Mas Hassan. You know he's in the house someplace. Brother Taj Tariq, Dr. Laila Africa, Sister Tassili Ma'atma Atma. Hold on, Sister Tassili Mata Atma Ma'at. Ashe. Sister Daya, Brother Jamal Gorey, Brother Azariah Ben Bey, Aten Edwards. The shadow is knocking my vision out. Brother Haru Tatef and his queen, Brother Dawood, Brother Curtis Cost, Brother Herman Smalls out there, and Sister Eleanor Harvey. Now, those who received the torch and moved it forward in the spirit of which it was passed to them, I salute them as well, because I'm now saluting the next elders, the ones whom I've had personal contact with, the ones whom I've had scrutiny on and have watched their works, the new elders, the ones that are supposed to be holding it down and will be holding it down. It's going to be tough because everybody thinks they can occupy this platform. They cannot. They should not. We have to be more discreet, not being prejudicial, but more discreet, more proofed. Brother Black Dot, Brother A.A. Rashid, Brother Panic, Brother King Simon, my son Amin Ra, Brother Chris, Brother Red and Blue Pill, Brother Shabazz, Brother Supernova. I talked to my brother Rich. Where's my brother Rich at? There he is, Brother Rich. Brother Duke Asir, Duke of Tears, Brother Joel Benjamin, Abundance Child, Brother Jabari, Brother DJ, Professor Griff, Mukasa Africa, Irritated Genie, Sister Keisha Forrester, and Brother John Kawasi. Now, I'm naming these because they have proven themselves up to this point. Don't disappoint me. Don't disappoint us. Because you've been named now. You have been given that sword that they give you to each shoulder, which means you have a responsibility to the people. Yes, sir. Whatever you say, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt, which is why this particular platform is so sacred.
Man, boy, woo, that was on fire. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how much that meant to me back in the day at St. Francis College family. we're about to bring. I can't tell you how much that meant to me back in St. Francis College back in the day, family. I can't tell you how much that meant to me back in the day. And let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be respectful to the creative force of the universe and our ancestors. I pray and I meditate because this community means a lot to me. And although I have quotations around this thing called conscious community, this new program that's about to start for the first time, and I'm going to bring on one of my elders who I've known since the late 80s. Today's consciousness in the conscious community. What happened? And how can we change it and heal it? And of course, it brings tears to my eyes. It brings a lot to me because I've been in it since I was 14 years of age. And I remember the integrity of it. I remember being able to go to my elders at the Slave Theater, walk up on them at the National Black Theater, come to them at even Baba Phil's house back in the day. And yes, I'm tearing up because the young people don't know what it was and what we had. You're only getting offshoots. And this new program, it's a calling program. And yes, the number is up there, 718-210-8853. And it's very moving to me because I know how much I've put into this. I know the sweat, pain that I've put into this over the years. And yes, we have bad apples. Yes, in a bushel basket, a tree, you have your bad apples, you have your bad mangoes, you have your bad fruits, you have your bad. I've climbed coconut trees and got bad coconuts, bad grapes, bad oranges. But we can't let it just die, especially for the next generation. And this brother here is not only a godfather, but a grandmaster in the metaphysical community who saved my life numerous times without him, unbeknownst to him, just by watching his videos or watching Delbert Blair's videos and watching other people's videos. They saved my life. And he mentioned a few of the people on there that have saved my life. No matter what happened to Dr. York, his information helped me back in my day. Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Asa Hilliard, all of these great ones, Anthony T. Browder, their wives. Don't forget their women. Dr. Nalani Valentine, all of them have helped me, helped my family in some way to help me to be a better. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on the platform right now our elder, our dear one, our beloved godfather of the metaphysical underground, the one, the only, Baba, Dr. Philip Valentine in the building. How are you, sir?
I don't know how to follow up on that, beloved brother.
I love you, man. I love you, sir.
Hey, back at you, brother. Back at you. I am so proud of you. You have no idea. All the work I put into. A lot of people don't know they don't know the journey. They only know the destination.
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
What they're witnessing today is essentially the destination where you have arrived. But that journey that you took and all the different things you had to go through to build this platform and to actually be the one, along with Brother Black Dot, to actually sponsor us, to give us that platform for us to be able to reach the community.
Yes, sir.
You put yourself out there. You all did the work of putting yourself out there because this is the kind of work that takes courage. Not just imagination, but it takes courage to be able to to hold that torch up, to keep it lit, not just hold it up, because there's always the winds of hate and prejudice and just things that just come and blow that torch out to extinguish the flame.
Yes, sir.
But you keep it lit, you and Brother Rich and you and Black Dot and Brother Delbert, Brother Bobby. You know, you have to. It takes a lot. It saps your strength. But then when you stand before the people and you feel accomplished and you sense that you've lit something in somebody's mind, and they become completely renewed by what you tell them, they feel differently from what they've ever felt before.
Yes,
There's
sir.
nothing like that. That becomes a drug to me. I look forward to lighting that light in someone's heart. And you have a lot, brother. Your your legacy definitely will stand, and they will know of King Simon. True, trust me.
Oh, brother, you know, how are you, sir? How's the family? How's the hope everybody's well?
Yeah, we are going through our own trials.
Yes, sir.
My son, myself.
Yes.
You know, he's battling. He's a courageous warrior, and
Yes,
I'm
sir.
loving him for all of he's done to actually keep it together and to fight against an attack. I believe that
Of course.
was aimed at him because of me,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and because of that, you know, he's going through his second stage through what we call the crucible
Yes,
to come out on the other end a victor, like he's always come out.
that's
He's
right.
always been that. He's always been a victor in everything that he's touched, everything that he's done.
Right, sir.
So that's the main thing. But the rest of the family is, you know, they're struggling like everyone else, but happy. You know, we're
Yes,
maintaining that love between us as we should, and that love between us keeps us positive, keeps us inventive, and keeps us from, you know, going completely off the grid, or keeps me from getting up into a bell tower with a 30-06 and just start aiming at everybody, you know, that type of thing.
That's right.
You
Yes,
know,
sir.
you know,
I understand.
metaphysics has actually kept me, you know, kept me honest
Yes.
with
Yeah.
myself, and I failed a few times, been homeless a few times,
Yes, we
but
have.
I never felt that I was never home.
Right.
You know, never not home. I don't care where I was. I made it home.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I think that that's what you have done. So all of what you have had to work through,
Yes,
you
sir.
made, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
you made your home wherever it was necessary to make a home.
That's the truth. Hey, brother, I tell people I used to sleep on crates.
Yeah,
Slept in a park. I've, you know, getting thrown out of my mother's house because of
mhm,
my conviction to, at that time, Rastafari. And
mhm,
then going into the community on Bushwick Avenue, we slept on the floor and we slept on crates
yeah.
in cold buildings,
Oh,
snow and cold water. A lot of people didn't know that.
oh,
505 Hart Street, right there, Bushwick. Just because we believe in something. And I tell people that back in the Ansar Allah, the days when Imam Isa was doing his thing, and those people who know him as Dr. York, no matter what he went into jail, I never experienced it back in the 80s. Whatever happened in the 2000s, that's between them. But I know I experienced the discipline of Islam, but propagation and being out there in them white robes and having to clean those white robes every day to make sure they was white so we can come out on them streets
indeed, indeed,
every
indeed,
day.
indeed, indeed.
And if a brother had a problem with each other, we would go in the basement and fight it out with gloves and
Yeah,
mitts. And after we finish, if you knock me out, if I knock you out, we still hug each other and
yeah,
embrace each other, not just pull out a gun and shoot each other or talk about their mother or disrespect each other.
yeah, yeah,
You know, and it's not, you know, we used to knuckle up. We used to
yeah,
knuckle up.
yeah.
These knuckles was on concrete doing push-ups. My
Oh,
fingers on concrete. They're studying with Dr. Powell's people, which is Anthony and
yeah,
Soki Littlejohn and all of them. We had to do our work.
yeah.
in the 80s and the 90s. And you know, and I had to bring you on for this first show, sir. Today's consciousness in the conscious community, as he quote unquote.
Yes.
Because I spoke to Sonetta today, and I told Sonetta, brother, I want you on my show probably in another couple of weeks after his birthday on April 6th. I want him because he has a platform that whatever he's doing. But I know that he was a big part of this movement also. Mm-hmm. And he used to bring you in with alongside everybody else to do, you know, back in the day. Yeah. And you know, but Doc, I want you to take us back a little bit, because and I want you to be candid and raw as much as you can. And again, family, let me let people know that this portion of it will be public, but the next portion will be on my Patreon. And here's my Patreon page, just in case. It's already set and ready to go. Patreon is right there. Patreon.com/King Simon. The next hour at 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9 o'clock, 9:11, because 9:11 is an emergency. We're going to Patreon. We're going to Patreon on it. I'm shutting this down and we're going to Patreon. Period. So, you know, you spoke in that lecture that we did at St. Francis. You spoke about the great elders before you, and you never seen them speak and talk about calling themselves some type of the king of this or the King Kong of that. And we already know who that's all about. We know who's doing that. Yeah. But you never hear a Stokely Carmichael, anybody that you sat with or sat at the feet of,
right,
be so braggadocious.
Right.
Tell us what do you feel was the problem, and what happened? We had to go down that road, that we have to be braggadocious. We have to show that we driving this or have this or do this. What happened? So, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think that we were going through a traumatic time, and a lot of what we wanted to do for our children,
yes, sir,
we weren't able to do at that time. And this is no blame. I'm not here to blame anybody.
Yes, sir.
But the hip hop community was jacked. It was taken over. It was attacked.
Yes, sir.
And where the hip hop community was about joy, getting together, kind of happy, partying, it was taken over, and it became this platform for narcissistic expressions.
Yes, sir.
It was all about me and how much bling that I could bring. The bling was not in the conscious community. The bling wasn't what you wore around, it's what you brought. And a lot of people began to take that platform that became more and more, I would say, popular.
Yes, sir.
And they began to use that narcissism that came with the taking over of the hip hop community. They kind of wove that narcissism into the spiritual community and began trying to make, how do you say it, dignitaries.
Yes, sir.
Trying to make people who were, trying to create a superstar cadre of people, trying to go out there and be a cult of personality. And it wasn't about that. It was about, it began to become, like how they were talking about beef in hip hop.
Yes, sir.
They began to bring the beef mentality to that platform. And then it began to be, okay, who had more knowledge? Not the knowledge, but who can one up somebody on the knowledge they had as opposed to the knowledge I had.
Yes, sir.
And it lost the joy of sitting there and listening to elders give you science that you had actually brought your books, your tapes, the whole 9 yards, and you went home and studied.
Yes, sir.
And so it became a cult of personality. And we were very, very sad to see that happen. It's begun to turn back on itself because a lot of young brothers and sisters are now on YouTube taking a lot of what we did
Mhm.
and taking pieces of it, running with it, and expanding on it,
Yes,
which
sir.
is very good. We're
Yes.
happy about that. That was the point. I saw somebody, I think it's one of my students, he's taken the science of thought,
Mm.
was something that I was speaking about in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And he's taken the science of thought and with a brilliant delivery, almost with that James Earl Jones persona, have taken that information and is now expanding it into a lesson plan with audio
Mm.
visuals to go with it. Like I use the webinars.
Yes, sir.
He uses pictures and moving things, different samples, and it's so beautiful, so beautifully done. And I
Mm.
showed my wife. When my wife was listening to it, I was just listening to it, and she said, "Whoa, is that you speaking?" I said, "It must be one of my students because he's speaking verbatim what he
Yes.
learned at my university." And it was like so beautiful to listen. And,
Yes.
with you and Rich and Hank and Brother Black Dot, you all are out there speaking and forwarding it and bringing other young brothers and sisters to
Yes,
that
sir.
platform. Yeah, that's what's happening with it. It's all the truth. They say, crushed to earth, will always rise again.
Yes, sir.
And no matter what comes along to challenge it, it will always win that battle.
Yeah. 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 And and Baba, and it would always win the battle. Yes. But I remember, and it's good that technology can flip it, but we want to make sure that they don't distort it. And we
Amen.
don't. I remember Dr. Powell through another student, Dr.
Mm.
Moses Powell. Those who don't know,
Hey,
he told his student, may he rest in peace, Asheo. He told his student, don't dilute my teachings.
ah,
Teach the babies pure sunukas. Dr.
mhm.
Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it too to
Yeah.
many of his teachers. Don't do that to my teachers. Give
Mhm.
it to them pure. Give it to them pure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And what you and people like the Benz of the world, Dr. Benz of the world, the Sheikh Anta Diop, Ivan
Mhm.
Van Sertima of the world, the Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the Suzar, the Joe Pukram of the world.
Mhm.
People are yes taking and grabbing it, but sometimes in their adding on in this quote unquote conscious community, they seem to have diluted it and disrespected in a certain way because we know things are supposed to grow and evolve. I understand that. It's all about evolution and moving. As long as it's not becoming something that bless you, that becomes destructive and disrespecting the base and the foundation of it.
Yeah.
Because why a lot of these things are people are arguing over who said what and what said what and this person was wrong, and instead of adding on, because most of these people like a Ronoko Rashidi or Shekanta Diop, a lot of them was behind enemy lines and almost got killed to just get this information. Where we now just have this in our hands and we could
Yeah.
just Google and chat GPT and all that stuff right now.
Right. Right.
And so I've seen ChatGPT give disinformation.
Yes.
I've seen Google throw
Mhm.
disinformation out there. And then you have to go into chat and say, no, that's not what it is. This is what you got to do. And then they'll throw it back at you. You're right. Boom, 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 boom. And because they're learning, just like we are learning as we're growing.
Indeed.
Doc, with your lessons that you've taught all these years, how many years is it now, Doc, before I go on?
I would say going on to 40.
40
something.
years.
Yeah.
40 years. That's not some of the people on here ain't even that old. 40
It's
years.
it's a little over 40 years. 43. Say, yeah.
40 years. What would you like to see with your lesson, what your students did, but what would you like the younger folks that are in this consciousness and that have become part of this quote unquote consciousness in the conscious community? What would you like to see of your lessons moving forward? And how can people help not only change their attitude about what you gave us, but how can they heal with it, so to speak?
It's a good question. It would have to be the person coming to that lesson, coming into that lesson. You have to remember, they say that when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
again, we are only the guides that point the way.
Mm.
If they don't want to take that path, we're not here to force them to take the path. We're here to help them see the path from within first, because the journey is not the journey that they take outside.
Mhm.
In my school, I tell them that the path of the hidden light, which is what was taught in ancient schools, the path of the hidden light is the path that leads within.
Mhm.
If you found me, okay,
Yes,
if
sir.
you found me, then by finding me, you found yourself or part of yourself, because all I am is like a traffic light. You
Mhm.
come to that corner and you either go forward or you stop. And I'm here. The university has been up online for nearly 16 years.
Yeah.
We have been doing this for a little over 40 years.
Mm.
So if you say, oh, Dr. Valentine, your university, it seems that I think I'm ready for it. Well, then that's what we're here to do. We can't tell you to come in here or drag you by the collar like they do in the education system.
Yes,
If
sir.
you don't take your child and put that child into that indoctrination system, what happens? They come and send people after you, come and take your child, vaccinate them, do all kind of things to them, and then say, "Well, you're a parent that, and you seem to be doing what's detrimental to your child, and so
Mhm.
the state has to take over." No, we essentially have said that we know what's best for our children, we know what's best for us, but the people have to know that we are what's best for them. We
Yes, sir.
can't tell them that and then try to force them to come to our school. Like, for instance, our next university teachings for the initiate levels on the 22nd of this month.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
people who are ready to actually want to be there for us to teach them the higher metaphysics. I'm talking about practical metaphysics,
Right.
applied metaphysics, not just speaking and talking eclectic, lessons. No, I'm talking about applied metaphysics
Mhm.
and how your thoughts work. All of what they're teaching you now about thoughts, about resonance, about hertz and frequencies, we've been teaching that for the last 40
Mhm.
years.
Mhm. Yep.
Before that, the ancestors, they've been teaching that. We've been miseducating our children. And so
Mhm.
that's why we have one for the children, which is the Institute for Self Mastery, and we have
Mhm.
one for the university, which is for the adults. But as you said, how
Mhm.
do we convince them?
Mhm.
We have to stay consistent with
Mhm.
what we do. We can't vacillate. We can't change up to a point where they don't recognize us anymore. We haven't changed anything, maybe the way we deliver it, but the
Mhm.
truth stays constant. And so if you really want to know what the truth is, and people say, well, Dr. Valentine, I remember hearing what you were saying 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and that I've come to a point where I've reached your trust, then why is it that I don't hear more of you speaking to that trust by going out and doing exactly what it is that I'm doing?
Mhm.
If I'm not duplicating myself, then when I go forward back to the ancestors and I have to stand before them and then show them my works, what did you duplicate yourself?
Mhm.
Did you show someone?
Mhm.
Did you show what you do? What is it that you have raised? What gifts have you raised within others?
Yes, sir.
You see, what gems have you passed on? How have you increased yourself by making the next person better than you? That's the secret. To teach so that you teach someone to be greater than you because
Right.
they're the future. And that's why a lot of people, a lot of teachers hold off on people Maybe because, they don't feel their worth or so forth. But no, like you said, my book, The Wounded Womb, I told them, get a dictionary, because I'm not going to quibble about the words I use just because you don't understand them. These are the words that those who control you use. They give you these little simple words, little street words, and tell you this is the new jargon. But then the words they use to keep you imprisoned are the way that they teach each other through books like Black's Law's Dictionary or Valentine's Dictionary.
Mhm.
You see, they have a whole other language of control that you are not aware of. And so my books have words and phrases and different types of meanings that, this doesn't make sense. Well, how come the book is so thick? No, I'm not going to quibble about what it is that you need to do and what you need to actually buckle down to achieve, especially when it comes to this part of your body, not just this part and the leather regions. What's
Yes,
going
sir.
on up here? See,
Right, right. And those that are just tuning in, that have just got in, Dr. Valentine, you can always go to his website, uksnow.org, his homeschooling website with him and his beloved wife, his Empress, ismhomeschool.org. And also, you could send them some PayPal love via chemitearth@gmail, friends and family, or Zelle using the email sanu777@gmail. Please, today, this is a new show on Tuesday. Y'all usually know I don't do anything on Tuesday unless it's my early morning show. Tuesday is really connected to the number 9 frequency in numerology, and 9 is the number of saying what you mean and meaning what you say.
that's
And
funny. I was
today,
born. I was born on a Tuesday.
and you do say what you mean. I didn't even know this, sir. I didn't know. And everybody who knows Dr. Valentine from the past and up to now, to this day, he still says what he means and mean what he says.
There you go.
And this program, family, this is a new program that's going to come on every week, and I'll have a special guest every other week so I can talk to y'all personally also. And it's called Today's Consciousness in the Conscious Community. What happened and how can we change it and heal it? I had the opportunity to speak to my dear brother, Asir the Duke of Tears, who's with it also, because he says, Asir said to me today, he said, it's good for a brother like you to do this because I've promoted so many people. Mm-hmm. I've been a promoter and I've been a promoter in the Caribbean community, the reggae world, and condolences to one of my dear friends who I got a few pictures with and worked with before, who just transitioned, reggae artist Coco T. Just passed on at 65. And, he used to sing that song, and now we gone, Rikers Island. He just passed on. So he was one of my, that he used to travel with Dennis Brown and go to Trinidad, go all over the world. Yeah, he worked with Dennis Brown and everybody, and he just passed on. But
Michael Rose,
he used to work with Michael Rose and all of them. All of them are all sending him salutes right now. Coco T. Yeah. And I miss he always just gave us the consciousness through reggae. And again, family, today's consciousness and in the conscious community is not just predicated on just the metaphysics, but what we're disseminating as far as history is concerned, and as far as how we're going to grow and what we're going to do with our children and how should they understand this conscious community. I started something called the conscious community. I started saying that because I think we need to be conscious. And I think I heard Dr. Ray Hagan mention conscientious before. I got to make sure I show him some Ray. Big up to Dr. Ray Hagan. But, Dr. Valen, from a candid perspective, you've foreseen a lot of the crap that's going on now in the conscious community, in the quote unquote conscious community back in the day. And you've even told certain people to their face or over the phone what it is and what it is not.
Right. Yeah.
Why? How did you see that, and what triggered you to even speak on it back in the day?
Yeah, it's trends. Yes, I have, when you study not only metaphysics, but you study it in relationship to human behavior, and I studied psychology. My doctorate is in hygienic science, and I have many other little certificates based upon human behavior. And so when you study behavioral trends,
Mm-hmm.
and if you study how the person next to you
Yeah.
is feeling, because there are like a sounding board, and
Mm-hmm.
you listen to other brothers and sisters, and then you put your finger on, you tap into something that, if you're open and you have the right mindset, that immediately something happens to turn you or to tweak you and say, oh, this is going to head to this direction. And
Mm-hmm.
if they're not quite careful, it'll go into this direction. And if they are and they listen, it'll go into this direction. So what happens, you begin to get a feel, a pulse. You put your hand on the pulse of the community, but you not only do that, you reach out and you put your hand on the pulse of Nature Mother, and she speaks to you definitely to let you know, by the tenor of the times, plus a little astrosophic work
Mm-hmm.
also helps. And understanding metaphysics, you know that there are high seasons and low seasons. And when
Mm-hmm.
you understand how energy fluctuates, you can then know that basically certain things are happening, certain people come out. When a specific energy that is detrimental, certain people who are open to those energies will begin to physically express it. So when
Mm-hmm.
certain people are expressing a certain type of energy and certain things are happening, you know what kind of energy is actually becoming manifest, what's being manifest at that time. And then you begin to prepare. You say, okay, is this viral in some way? Is it going to spread in some way? Or is this just a one time phenomenon? And you have to weigh these things. And as you're weighing them, you come up with your own best guess at the moment. But the guess is not just a fleeting guess, it's a guess based upon you putting things together and knowing the trends of human behavior, of the astrophysical principles of seasons. And that's not just the seasons that you see in nature, but consciousness seasons.
Mm-hmm.
There's seasons in consciousness as well. There's winter, summer, spring, and fall consciousness. And you have to understand that they too have a value, a frequency value, a resonating value. And when you understand those particular seasons, then it comes around to thought. So, like fire, air, water, and earth, they say are the four foundational elements. They say there's a fifth element, but that fifth element is time. So when you watch the so-called times,
Mm-hmm.
you understand that the times are connected to thought, and that thought is essentially time.
Mm-hmm.
Time and thought are the same. And that's something that's like, what do you mean? What do you mean time and thought is the same?
Please go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, when you get into understanding and understanding that time essentially is the cohesive element that brings together the four to become everything you see in the material world. But we, as thought, we are the humans, are the ones that thread that into a reality. We're the
Mm-hmm.
ones that coalesce it through our thought processes. And so when you understand how people are thinking at a particular time, when you understand what time it is through studying the stars and
Mm-hmm.
understanding and overstanding your own inner clock, you understand that the thought trends and time trends are together the same. Then you begin to take a pulse of the WORD, which is the fire, air, water, and earth made
Mm-hmm.
flesh. And so coalescing with that and understanding, I can't get all into the
Of
intricacies,
course, of course, of
but
course.
you see, but to understand how all four of these work, the Word, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, if you understand that, fire,
Mm-hmm.
air, water, and earth is essentially the Word spoken into third density to become. And the
Mm-hmm.
Word essentially is now caught together in in the creation, or in what we call the avatar that God created in order to actually use time as a mechanism for its own self realization.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you understand that time is created for God to learn, so if that's the case, then you are the teacher. But wait a minute, where is God? God is within. You are God. And as such, you begin to be able to see exactly how the pulses of time and the pulses of thought work together to create the conditions that we live in today.
Mm, mm. Man, but Doc, you that's why I tell people y'all got to join his university, because when Doc start getting it in, and he gives you applicable work to do, homework, temple work, because that is the goal is self-mastery, as his website will say. The goal is self-mastery at the end of the day, and but back in the day, Doc, again, going back into the old consciousness, you used to have people go into the parks and go here and do all types of do a pendulum work and all that kind of stuff.
Indeed, and that's part of the techniques that embody you, and that's you embracing the energies. A lot of the energies that flow through us, that are around us, we take for granted. The very fact that we could just draw breath, and we have all the distractions around us, television, the internet, your phone. You, by sitting still, they tell you, be still and know that I am. When you go into your stillness in the park, when you have no one around but the birds and nature speaking to you, there's a whole other stillness. And with that stillness that comes in that place, there's a whole other language being spoken. In the stillness, there is a language being spoken. And that's why when I teach, I speak about the fact that intelligence only comes about when thought is put to rest. Thought is noisy. Thought is constantly looking for attention. Thought is consistently putting you in the past to give you a feeling or a sense of being. If you're not thinking, some people say they have to keep thinking in order to even know they're real, that they exist. But they don't understand that there's a part of them that exists. There's the doer, the thinker, and the knower. This doer is all we are. We're constantly doing, do. But then the thinker is constantly verifying and making sure that the doer keeps busy. Because there are people who are attacking the thinker and keeps giving a whole lot of garbage for the thinker to be constantly focusing on.
Right.
And that alienates the knower. And the knower can only be accessed in silence and in quiet. And that's why they keep your thoughts going with fear constantly. You're about to be bombed. You're about to be shot. You're about to lose your house. You're about to do. So your thinker is constantly on overdrive. And the knower, which can give you a sense of direction that you didn't know you had the ability to actually receive and to get, you're completely estranged from that because you think that all of your solutions are in your thought process. They're not. The thought is always of the past. You can't have a future thought. There are no future thoughts. There's only now and then. And we assess what then tomorrow is based upon what we have put together from past and now. But we forget about that.
So Doc, a question just came up about the distraction that they're putting out there, to the point that they are using AI to take people's words and manipulate them to make it feel that they said it and they did not say it. Like they put out something about Dr. Sebi that he said it, and if you listen to what this Dr. Sebi AI is saying, Sebi never promoted, let's say, turmeric. You know what I'm saying? Let's say turmeric. He never promoted turmeric.
Right.
Never. He wasn't one of those people that did that. Or they might use or they use Billy's words and did a whole AI thing on him and put it out there. This type of distraction, this type of poison pill in today's consciousness in the community, because they're inserting a lot of the madness through AI. And I tell people, when I broke down the numbers to AI, and because it added up to the Wheel of Fortune energy, when you read the context of that compound number, Wheel of Fortune, it says that it can be used for good and evil.
Yep.
Just the word, just the A and I. I didn't even have to break down artificial intelligence. Just A and I, because we constantly say the word. You know what I'm saying? So when I seen the 10 show up, I said, oh, this is what y'all doing. Okay, I
Yeah,
see what's happening.
yeah,
So how can many of us peel the onion skin off of this as people that are conscious or have a consciousness in this quote unquote conscious community? Let me put it like that. We want to do good. We want to do good. Conscious means doing good in this conscious community. So,
but
but the, so how can we peel this onion, especially the young people, because they just taking and sucking all this stuff in because they know young people are like sponges.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know who we keep giving them over to? We keep giving them over to the programmers.
Right, right.
You see, and the fact that we continuously trust the brains of our future to those who are going to manipulate them to their own benefit,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have that problem.
Yeah.
And it's funny because if you understand that the actual introduction of AI happened in 2019,
Mm. I didn't know
and if
that.
you look at 19, the word
Yeah.
19 is AI.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's when it began to become popular
That's
because
right. That's right.
it was, they called it COVID-19.
Mm.
I don't want to get too deeply
No, yeah,
involved.
don't get it. Yeah, yeah.
If you understand what that
Yeah.
meant,
Yeah.
you understand that that's when AI became,
That's
well,
right.
went live, in other words. It
That's
went
right.
live in such a way as to begin the process of incorporating us into that particular stream. Now, here's something that you need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that when you cross lasers and place them at a particular 90-degree angle,
Mm.
that you will then see that we are in a matrix?
Mm. Right.
Yeah, you'll
Mm.
see, you'll see that. Well, spoke about this because there was a movie out called the 19th or the 13th Floor.
13th floor. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't understand that the matrix is being created as necessary.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the human factor and how to control the human factor and its ability, the human species' ability to outgrow present consciousness structures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those who
Mm-hmm.
wish to control that energy
Mm-hmm.
essentially are, let's just say, knitting and embroidering the future based upon what it is that they see of the potential for humanity to raise spiritually, to
Right.
rise to another level, if you understand what I mean.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What happens is that there is, let's just say that when we were attacked, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
only using
Yeah.
symbols, when we were
Yes.
attacked,
No problem.
what they did was they began to infuse millions of us
Mm-hmm.
with an input output signal.
Mm-hmm.
That input output signal was actually feeding data
Mm-hmm.
to the AI monster. They called it, well, they first called it Echelon.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the FBI was using at one time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was like 20 years ago. Just imagine what kind of technology they have today with the AI.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, that AI system is learning and creating a virtual world
Mm-hmm.
that essentially is learning from the output signals of what they put in through the graphene and through these semi-live, almost, I would say, synthetic life forms that actually replicate themselves inside of the human body.
Mm-hmm.
What the human body is doing through the aura right now is giving an output signal that is now teaching the AI what a human being really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone down to the subcellular and even the subatomic level, and it is learning of what we are constructed, the frequencies, the spin dynamic of what of the particles of what constitutes us. Okay. And what I call 40 years ago, the light code transmissions. They are now jacked into the light codes. And in jacking into the light codes, they're now creating another you inside of the AI system. So everyone who has that that nanotech running in their bodies, they are now being replicated inside of that computer. And a whole other world is now being structured so that the input output signal, where they were picking up the information from us to create the world, when they have become proficient in it and they have essentially wiped out, I would say, hundreds of millions, and they will, and they're doing it, then those that are left will be the ones that they are going to use as their, I would say, worker bees and worker ants, because the AI will now be the one dictating to them rather than you dictating to AI. Because the AI will have jacked into your consciousness system through your cellular structure. People say, well, that sounds like it's crazy. I sound crazy for the last 40 years. I'm telling you, based upon what it is that I do know, and with the intel that I do have from people who are inside, they already have a world in the AI system that looks like our world.
Right.
It's a virtual world, and there's a you in there if you succumbed to the sacrifice, let's just say. You drank the Kool-Aid, so to say.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, what can I tell you, beloved, regarding that is we are getting ready for that Armageddon battle, but it's not an Armageddon that you see outside. That's going to be the distraction. The internal one, where the new matrix is set up, where you're not going to tell the difference between what's reality and what is not. Because now people are going to be seeing when the young people begin to get more into technology, they will begin to see that this is a type of matrix. And you can see my matrix information on YouTube.
Yes.
On the matrix, you can see that there.
Family, again, family, make sure y'all lock into Dr. Valentine and what he has to offer through his university, and how important it is for he's been, and all of his information that he's been pouring into us for many, many moons. Let me throw that on the screen, family, so you'll understand. I'm going to take a real quick commercial break after this, and I'm going to come back with the question and answers publicly until 9/11. Then we're going to switch over to Patreon. So if you want to join the Patreon family, because I want them to be as raw and candid as he can, that's the Patreon. That's the Patreon right here. That's King Simon Productions at Patreon. I think it's only $10. Don't worry about it. Don't get yourself stressed. But it's only $10. So that's all. But make sure you support Baba Valentine through his website. Of course, he doesn't have Cash App, so look at his PayPal at kemitearth@gmail.com. Friends and family, and Zelle at Sanu777. Use that email, Sanu777 at Gmail. And don't forget Mama School, of course, the ISM homeschool.org. That's ismhomeschool.org. How old are the children that they can start with? How old are the children that they can start
with? From 7 years of age all the way up to college.
To college. Wow.
Children, but the 7 years of age, but we take them at 6 if they're more advanced. A lot of the homeschool children are very advanced, and they have to, of course, take a test and meet with the teachers to see whether or not they have the attention span. That's very important, to have the attention span to be able to learn online.
Okay. Good. All right, so we're going to take this quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right here on the new show that I'm doing on Tuesday called Today's Consciousness in the Conscious Community. What happened and how can we change it and heal it? And we're going to come back with some solutions, and we're going to come back with audience participation. The numbers on the screen right now is 718-210-8853. See you scrolling through the bottom, 718 210-8853, or you can come in and cam up if you feel like you're bold enough to come and cam up. All right, we'll be right back after these messages.